So, hey, good morning. All good? So, what we discussed in the last day? Mansabdari system, and we have not gone into the explanation of the decline of Mughals. So, have we written any question on that day? What we wrote? No, any question actually? ठीक है. So, this week. So I think I mentioned that to what extent Jagirdari crisis was responsible for decline of Mansabdari. This was the question. नहीं लिखा तो question लिखो पहले. Just write a question. So mention. And there are two questions, but then answer will go in the same line. So first you write, to what extent Jagirdari crisis, to what extent Jagirdari crisis was responsible, to what extent Jagirdari crisis was responsible for the decline of Mughals. It will come back. They will adjust. That's fine. Then second question you write, discuss the factors responsible for decline of Mughals. So both the question, as you can see, that very first question, what we have mentioned, that to what extent, Hindi में अगर जो translate करूँ तो किस हद तक, ठीक है, Jagirdari crisis was responsible for decline of Mughal. And second question is that very straightforward, discuss the factors which were responsible for the decline of Mughals. So to great extent, the answer would be similar. Obviously, that little bit of changes has to be made according to the demand of the question. But in the very first question, what you have seen that they are asking that to what extent Jagirdari crisis was responsible. So the question is that it's not only the Jagirdari crisis which is responsible for decline of Mughal. It is a very important factor, and that's what they are asking. कि किस हद तक, ठीक है, or up to what extent. Then the second one is a very straightforward question, that all the factors that you need to mention about it. Now, before going into the answer of it, answer already we know, some part has to be added. But then, first of all, let's start today a small discussion on the introductions. Okay? So how you will be writing introduction, or how till this date you are writing introductions. आज तक कैसे introduction लिखते आए हो? So there are 2-3 ways, and obviously that we have all our own ways of writing, but writing introduction. But then one thing has to be taken care of, that it must be impactful. When you're writing introduction, so there is not set formula कि ऐसे लिखो वैसे लिखो, ठीक है, and there are no such watertight compartment like thing, but the idea is that it must be impactful. So tell me that how you write introduction generally, अभी तक कैसे लिखते आए हो? I'll tell you, ठीक है? What you do generally is you pick the keyword and you write the definition of the keyword. Is it like so? But not everywhere you can write the definition. So it depends on the context of the question, the way question has been asked. So suppose that if some term is there, that term can be defined. Then, so for example, that यहाँ पे तुम कह सकते हो कि Jagirdari crisis is a term. Let's define the Jagirdari crisis. But the problem with the Jagirdari crisis definition or its further elaboration, the introduction itself will become the answer. Introduction itself will become the answer. So you don't have the scope. And understand that in 250 word question, you have a scope of writing 35 word introduction, not more than that. Then, so introduction ही इतना बड़ा मत लिख दो कि examiner introduction पढ़ने में ही खो जाए. So introduction must be, intro का मतलब ही होता है कि it must be crisp and short. So it must be crisp and short, and 30-35 words you can mention in it. Then if a 150 word question is there, to 25-30 words, not more than that. So you cannot define Jagirdari crisis in 35 words. It needs a little bit more. So in this question, there is no scope of writing the definition. But for example, that if you're writing any question from the economics, and so as that any other subject where some term is there. So for example, that if in eco portion, if there is a question that what is the impact of the financial repression on the current scenario in the economy. So then वहाँ पे तुम financial repression का definition लिख सकते हो. That's a crystal clear, ठीक है? There you can write. Then moreover, in polity also, that in what ways colored legislations are very much visible in the Indian scenario. So what is colored legislation? That you can write in the introduction itself. But हर जगह ये option तो नहीं होगा. Not everywhere you will get the scope of writing the keyword definition. So keyword definition you can go ahead, but then depends on the question. Then the second type of the introduction that you can give in the beginning is to write the glimpse of the answer in the beginning itself. Okay? What is the glimpse of the answer or main body part, that what you are going to write or what you have understood through it. So for example, second question dekho. Second question is to discuss the factors which were responsible for decline of Mughals. So the factors, n number of the factors could be there, but each and every factor will have a nature, and nature is what? Political nature, economic nature, socio-religious nature, military nature. So if you write in the introduction, in the second part itself, that the decline of the Mughals, not only Jagirdari crisis, but there were many other factors of the decline of the Mughals, which includes the political nature factor, economic nature factor, socio-religious and military nature factors. So now, examiner will get a hold that you have the idea. You know the answer, okay? You know the answer, that on what lines you are going to write. So he himself has idea that on what line you are going to write. So that way, and then you proceed with the different nature of the factors. Then this is the second type of the introduction. The third type of the introduction, there could be fourth, fifth also. It must be taken, that it must be kept in mind that it must be impactful. So third is considered as the best category, which is contextual introduction. What is contextual introduction? Meaning that you have complete understanding of the context of the decline of the Mughal. And it does not comes only from that what we are studying right now, modern, but you will have to go back to the medieval also. So for example, that if we look at the rule of the starting from the Akbar and then Jahangir, Shahjahan and Aurangzeb. So we don't see much of a decline till the Shahjahan, okay? It was all fine, it was a growing phase of the Mughal Empire. Even in the initial part of the Aurangzeb's life also, it was a growing thing. But then, Aurangzeb's religious divisive policies, were one of the most important reason that not only many people were getting disaffected. I'll tell you one such reason, one such example, that he's the one who persuaded Raja Jai Singh to fight with the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. And when Chhatrapati Shivaji was defeated, so he was arrested. He came to the court of the Aurangzeb in Agra on the assurance of the Jai Singh, and then after what has happened, he was arrested in the Agra court. And after that, Jai Singh's second death has happened. He was not happy with this decision. Then, so his death has also happened, but then he was not happy with this decision, that why Aurangzeb has done it. And in fact, this is how many of the Rajput rulers who were close associate of the Mughal house, they were disassociating themselves, okay, from Aurangzeb. Not formally, but informally, at least they were disassociating themselves with the Aurangzeb. So many such reasons were based in the Aurangzeb's time only. The decline, the seed of the decline was already sown at the time of the Aurangzeb, and after his death, it became very steep, meaning it became very rapid. So this is a contextual understanding, that all the seeds of the, majority of the seeds of the decline were sown at the time of the Aurangzeb. After his death, it became very steep. And following factors can be counted for the decline of the Mughals. So this way you can write the third type of the introduction. Then, so there could be n number of the ways, but then you will have to be, once again I'm repeating, that it must be impactful. Language थोड़ी अच्छी होनी चाहिए, ठीक है? ऐसा नहीं कि टूटे फूटे language में लिख दिया, तो टूटे फूटे language में you will get the टूटे फूटे marks. Then, so make your introduction very crisp and very good. Now understand, the very first part of our anything that once we see somebody, so we say na that there is a vibe. Then, so there is a vibe, or with your that once you start speaking, so that's your reflection of your personality, and that what creates the first impression. So your introduction is the first impression. I would not say it is the last impression, but then it is your first impression. So try to create impact from there. So now I will not dictate any part of it. Basically the intro part, ये अपने वे में लिखना, ठीक है, अपने लैंग्वेज में. मैं सिंपल सा सेकेंड टाइप वाला आई विल डिक्टेट, फर्स्ट एंड थर्ड आई एम नॉट डूइंग. सो नाउ लेट्स कम टू द फैक्टर्स. अब आंसर पे आते हैं. तो पॉलिटिकल नेचर factors, then economic nature, then socio-religious, and then military causes of the decline. So let's start with the political causes of the decline. Likho nahi, I'll just discuss and then we'll write. So political causes of the decline. So first of all, very first thing, okay, that the expansionist policy of the Aurangzeb, okay, expansionist imperialist policy of the Aurangzeb, it sapped the vitality of the Mughal Empire. What is this? Basically, just after coming to power in 1658, just after coming to power, he was on a spree of campaigns all over India. Kabhi Deccan mein, to kabhi Bijapur, Golconda, then sometimes Assam, then so different areas, different places he is invading. And obviously any invasion or any war effort is not, you can't say that any cost is not involved. Heavy cost is involved. So obviously he is spending a lot. If he blamed Shah Jahan that he spent all the money, majority of the money on architecture, so same was done by the Aurangzeb, that he was spending majority of the money on the war campaigns. So that is one such part, that obviously जब treasury खाली होगा तो vitality सही नहीं रहेगा. So that is very first thing that we can say. Then the second one, that even though Aurangzeb's time decline has started, but then Aurangzeb was a very strong ruler. He was very authoritative, and in fact there was a fear of Aurangzeb at many places. So even if people were disaffected, people were not liking him, but then they dared not to revolt many a times then, because he was very authoritative and he had this particular environment, he has created this environment of the terror. So just after his death, that particular terror was also gone, and people came to their original assertions. So now, after his death, what has happened? After his death, as we all have seen, that from 1707 to 1719, in a quick succession, many people were appointed to the Mughal throne. And who were they? So first Bahadur Shah first, then uske baad Jahandar Shah, Farrukh Siyar, ठीक है, Rafiuddollah, Rafiuddin, and so as the Muhammad Shah Rangila. So within 12 years, 6 people were appointed. So there is a political instability that is indicative of it. Then the second is there is no clear line of succession. So clear line of succession का मतलब ये होता है that the previous king has already chosen the next king. Then this has been the norm in the Mughal house right from the time of the Babur's time. Okay? So Babur's eldest son, Humayun, came to the power. Humayun wanted Akbar to come to power, and so as Akbar wanted Jahangir, and so as Jahangir has led the succession for the Shah Jahan. Then, so Prince Khurram. So there was a clear line of succession till Shah Jahan. But who distorted this clear line of succession? Aurangzeb. So Aurangzeb, how he distorted? He was the third son. He was not the first son. First was, that eldest was Dara Shikoh, then was Shah Shuja, then Alamgir Aurangzeb, and fourth was the Murad. So he killed the first brother, Dara Shikoh, and then he was after the life of the Shah Shuja, who escaped to Iran. And later on, he killed Murad also. So there was no clear line of succession. That's why in the later Mughal period, they all are fighting. There is no clear line of succession. So that is one such part. Moreover, majority, it is unfortunate, but then this is what is the reality, that it is not said about the early Mughals, okay, but it is about the later Mughals. Majority of the later Mughals were not only not capable, but they were also, many of them were not having the character to rule. Some of them were involved all the time in the physical or carnal pleasure. In fact, they were not doing anything in the administration. So that is also one reason that the king has to be authoritative, king has to be seeing everything, but he was already involved in some other stuff. Now, when it is happening, so who becomes powerful? Wazir becomes powerful. And Wazir is taking the decision on the behalf of the emperor. Apart from it, there is a stiff competition between the nobility. And why this competition is there? All of them are competing with each other to get the position of the wazir. Okay? So it is creating internal friction in the Mughal house. So this is also one of the reason of the decline. So let's write, mention karo. Pehle ek intro likho, small. You write, not only Jagirdari crisis, not only Jagirdari crisis, but also many other reasons, were responsible for decline of Mughals. Decline of Mughals. Full stop. These factors can be divided into political, economic, socio-religious, and military nature. Socio-religious and military nature. That's it. Very simple introduction we have written. Okay? But then it's all final. Then start with the political causes of decline. First heading, political causes of decline. Right? So in this number 1, you write, in point format you write. So you write, the expansionist policy of Aurangzeb sapped the vitality of the Mughal Empire. Then sapped the vitality of Mughal Empire. Number 2, you write, mention, Aurangzeb did not respected, number 2, Aurangzeb did not respected the line of succession, and after his death, there was a chaos, CHAOS, there was a chaos in Mughal politics. CHAOS, chaos. Okay? In Mughal politics due to no clear line of succession. Then next you write, mention, third, after the death of Aurangzeb, there was heavy political instability. In just 12 years, 6 rulers were appointed to Mughal throne. 6 rulers were appointed to Mughal throne. Then next you write after it, majority of the later Mughal emperors were incapable and some of them didn't had character. To rule. comma, some of them didn't had character to rule. Many of them were indulged in physical pleasure. Many of them were indulged in physical pleasure rather than regular administration. Rather than regular administration. Then, next point to write. The Mughal wazirs became very powerful. Mughal wazirs became very powerful in this duration. Mughal wazirs became very powerful in this duration, and there was intense competition. And there was intense competition among the nobility to get the position of wazir. Among the nobility to get the position of wazir. To get the position of wazir. Full stop. Then mention a court factionalism also emerged between, you can see the spelling, court factionalism. In general, what is factionalism? Groupism. Okay? So groupism based on the their ethnic identity. So for example, you remember we mentioned that 4 types of the nobles were there in the Mughal court: Turkish, Persian, Afghan and Hindustani. So they are all identifying with their own group. That is what is the court factionalism. So court factionalism also emerged in the Mughal court, and the cooperation between different noble groups, completely declined. Different noble groups completely declined. Then, so this is what is about the political nature. Since we mentioned in the question that Jagirdari crisis, okay, that to what extent Jagirdari crisis is responsible for decline of Mughal. But till this time, we haven't discussed Jagirdari crisis. So Jagirdari crisis is of which nature? Political, economic, socio-religious or military? It is economic nature. Okay? So we'll discuss it in economic causes of the decline. So write a major title, economic causes of decline. Economic causes, and इसमें number 1 नंबर डाल के लिखो जागीरदारी क्राइसिस. जागीरदारी क्राइसिस. So what is this जागीरदारी crisis? Understand. ठीक है. So जागीरदारी crisis is basically, अब एक बार ध्यान से समझना. ठीक है. Let me ask few questions to you. That question is that suppose that this is the, just go with this diagram. This is Mughal Empire. Then this much is the area. Now tell me, what ways Mughal Empire can increase its income? What are the ways that ये जितना area है, इस area से जो भी taxes collect हो रहे हैं, they are getting the income. ठीक है? But if they want to further increase their income, what are the ways they can increase their income? एक एक करके बोलो. तो वो तो ऑलरेडी यहाँ पे हो रहा है. ठीक है, टैक्स रेट बढ़ा देते. वेरी गुड, जस्ट 1 मिनट. सो जो सही लगेगा आई विल राइट ओवर हियर. सो इंक्रीज द टैक्स रेट्स. ठीक है, चलो सेकंड. यस, yes, good, very good. So increase the boundary of the, ठीक है, you are also saying the same thing, base बढ़ा दो, base का मतलब यही होता है कि boundary बढ़ा दो, ठीक है. So territory expansion, territory expansion. Now चलो यही दोनों रखेंगे. So tax rates increase. So suppose that if they are increasing the tax rates, what could be the possible repercussion? अगर जो tax rate बढ़ा दो तो what could be possible repercussion? Exploitation, चलो, but then there could be revolt also. That अगर देखो that capacity से बाहर हो गया, if the paying that whatever rate of the taxes, whatever amount of the taxes which is to be paid, if it is out of my capacity, so automatically I will revolt. ठीक है, कि जब है ही नहीं तो दूंगा कहाँ से? So then I'll fight. Then so increasing the tax rates is not a viable option because it will erode the trust in the society. Then so what is the most obvious thing right from the beginning is the territory expansion. So initially they are based in some part of the North India and then they are expanding to the different parts of the country. Then so expansion is one of the best way to increase their income. Okay? And obviously there are challenges in it. So in the territory expansion, who will be fighting for the Mughals? Mansabdars. And who are Mansabdars? Jagirdars. Okay? So they are fighting for. Then why? So if they are fighting for, so what they will get? Land grant. Pehle, so suppose that you are a Jagirdar in this much part. You are fighting for the Mughal emperor. Right? And you are fighting so that if it will expand, so इसमें जो land grant का proportion था, same land grant proportion I will get over here. Then so this is what is my interest as a Jagirdar, that if the Mughal empire expands, so I will get more land, then I'll get more land grant, and then that's how it will be organic relationship between the Mughal empire and the Jagirdar. So originally, now understand. So originally what was the scheme? That 80-20 ratio was followed. अब समझना what is 80-20. The entire land of the Mughal empire, it is divided into 80-20 ratio. 80% was for the granting purpose and 20% of the land was retained by Mughal emperor. Then, so it is retained by Mughal emperor. So whatever income comes from the 20%, it is completely going to the royal treasury. But then whatever that is 80%, so this is for the Jagirdars. Okay? Jagirdars, Mansabdars. So this was the ratio from the beginning, from the time of the Akbar, 80 and 20. But now understand, what has happened, what is this Jagirdari crisis? Ab dhyan se samajhna. And when Aurangzeb has come to power, he started his very, that expensive expansionist campaign. We are adding two words, expensive expansionist campaign. And where were these campaigns? So it was in the Deccan area and so as in the Bijapur and Golconda. So Marathwada, Bijapur and Golconda. In fact, Aurangzeb in person, he never defeated Shivaji. Okay? So he was not able to defeat, only it was Jaipur ruler or Amer ruler, Jai Singh first. He was the one who defeated Shivaji in 1665 Battle of Purandar. So there was often clash between Aurangzeb and Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, but then he didn't got any success. And it was very expensive campaign. So as his campaign in Bijapur Golconda was also very expensive. So once these expensive campaigns are led, obviously it leads to the money going from the royal treasury. So what he did, ab dhyan se samajhna, that after Bijapur and Golconda was annexed in 1686 and 1687 respectively. So once they were annexed, so what he did, that as per the new scheme, suppose that this is Bijapur and Golconda area. So as per the old scheme, is नए area का 80% must go to the Jagirdar and 20% must be retained by Aurangzeb. You know what Aurangzeb did? Aurangzeb kept more than 50% for himself and only 50% for Jagirdars. So it is just like that very, very simple situation. You are working in an organization, any organization, okay? And you are very loyal to that organization. You believe that if organization reaches to new height, तुम्हारा भी promotion होगा. Okay? Your salary will also increase. Suppose that you are expecting that your salary will increase by 80,000 rupees. And what happened? That organization तो ऊपर बढ़ा, but then your salary increased by just 50%. So 30% का difference हो गया. So what is your feeling? Relative deprivation. That you feel deprived. You will feel that कि इसीलिए इतना, for this purpose only that I was so loyal to the person. So this is how the feeling was there among the Jagirdars, that they were expecting that this much increase, but what they got, lesser than that. And moreover, in this particular, one more phenomenon started to happen. So what is the option before Jagirdar? कि अगर मैं expect कर रहा हूँ, if I'm expecting that I'll be getting 50 acres of land, 80 acres of land, and how much I got? 50. So when I got 50, so what are the options before me to increase my land? Then, so there are 2-3 options, understand? एक तो पहला ये होगा कि revolt कर दें, that all the Jagirdars, they must revolt against the Aurangzeb, but it cannot happen because the Jagirdars themselves, they are divided in many groups. Then, so that option is not there, and moreover, revolting may lead to suppression and death also. So there was a fear. That's what we said in the beginning, that Aurangzeb time, there was a terror in the court. Then, so people were fearful. They wanted to revolt, but they cannot, because it may lead to their death. So they cannot revolt. What is the second option? So second option is to persuade Aurangzeb, okay? And what ways? So persuade Aurangzeb in very simple, I would say, do the buttering, okay? You all understand what is buttering, okay? So buttering, so what is the buttering? So for example, that some of the Jagirdar will go to Aurangzeb and he will say that I was the one who was fighting in this particular battle, okay? That you ask anybody, then that I was the one who was leading campaign from this area to that area. But once you look at the Afghan nobles then, or any other nobles, so what they were doing all the time, they were interested in only cooking the biryanis then in the tent. Then so now they will persuade Aurangzeb in such a way that we are your well-wishers. वो कहते हैं ना कि एक गलत बात को भी 100 बार बोलो तो वो सही लगने लगती है. So now what happens, that they have seek the close association of the Aurangzeb, and Aurangzeb, what he did, that disproportionate division of the Jagir started to happen. Meaning किसी को ज़्यादा जागीर, किसी को कम जागीर. So this disproportionate Jagir, when it was given, so it further led to the enmity between the groups. Which groups? Jagirdar group. And they started to fight with each other. This fight of the Jagirdars is what we call Jagirdari crisis. And Jagirdars are exactly similar to the bureaucrats. You must have heard, you know, because you are preparing, it is said that bureaucrats are the steel frame of the country. If they stop functioning, so everything will come to standstill. Then, so similarly, if Jagirdars are not cooperating with each other, they are fighting with each other, so the entire administration will come to standstill. This is what happened, is just because of the one initiative of the Aurangzeb. I hope you got it. किसी को कोई confusion? Anyone? Should we write? लिखो, mention करो. So, at the core of Mughal administration, इसमें लिखा ना जागीरदारी crisis as a subtitle, ठीक है? So at the core of Mughal administration was mansabdari system. At the core of Mughal administration was mansabdari system. System, full stop, then mention. The Mughal might depended on, the Mughal might depended on the strength of its mansabdars. Mughal might depended on the strength of its mansabdars. Then mention. Mansabdars played the vital role. Mansabdars played the vital role in the expansion of Mughal Empire. In the expansion of Mughal Empire, so as their own income. Their own income. Then change paragraph and then you mention Aurangzeb initiated a very long drawn Aurangzeb initiated a very long drawn expensive wars in Marathwada, Bijapur and Golconda. After establishing his control on these areas, he declared majority of the land in royal category and less land was made available for granting purpose. Full stop. Then mention granting purpose. Moreover, the Jagirs were highly disproportionate, small and unequal in size. Full stop. It led to intense fight between the Mughal Jagirdars. To increase their landholding. It is called as Jagirdari crisis. In the Mughal court. So now you yourself see that can we write this much in introduction? No. And please also remember one thing, that whenever you're writing answers, please don't write the entire answer in one paragraph. Some of you might be doing it, please don't do it. And you are doing harm to yourself, and then moreover, the problem is with that this is not the way you write. It's less like a non-stop radio station. So non-stop radio station, for example, that suppose that if you are a district collector and you are in a district and Prime Minister comes to meet you, to know the grievances of the district, and you are a non-stop radio, you are saying something, will he be able to grasp anything? कहना क्या? His only answer would be कहना क्या चाहते हो भाई? ठीक है? तो break it, ठीक है? So that it is clearly visible that what you're writing, what you're trying to say. And generally in the GS answers, 30 से 40 word के बाद break the paragraph, ठीक है? And if you're writing in the points, so also fine. But there is all this discussion also many a times. Many people do ask कि point में लिखें या paragraph में लिखें. ये discussion होना ही नहीं चाहिए. Point में लिखें या paragraph में लिखें, दोनों में लिखो. Depends on that demand of the question. And moreover, it's always good that introduction of point में थोड़ी लिखोगे. Introduction you will be writing in paragraph, then you do the points, then conclusion will you be writing in the points, then so in a paragraph. And generally see that it must be mix of both. Whenever you're writing answer, देखो पॉइंट में लिखने का देयर इज अ वन बेनिफिट दैट यू सेव टाइम when you're writing in the points. So mix it, ठीक है? That the middle body part, if there is a scope, so write in the points then, and the intro and the conclusion you can write in the paragraphs, and whichever place you have supposed that question has been asked, तुम्हारे पास कम information है, very less information. So then point would not be right at that time. You have to fill the pages also, not like the university exams, but at least expression, if you have less points, but if your expression is good, so it will not make much difference in the final marks. And so use both the ways, both the things. Take a point, paragraph, and then mix it. So I'll tell you one example. As I said to you, that if Prime Minister visits your district, you are a district collector, you will have to, अब पूरा दिन भर का तो समय है नहीं कि 24 घंटे वो आपके लिए देने आएंगे. Then, so he will be meeting you for 4-5 minutes. You'll have to be very quick in that particular meeting to count all the grievances and what is required. So there comes what comes handy, pointing. ठीक है? That in a point way, introduction नहीं देना है अपना, ठीक है? कि सर मैंने इस ईयर में ये एग्जाम क्लियर किया था, इतना रैंक था. Every year somebody is clearing and somebody is getting the rank. For him, it doesn't make any difference. Then, so what you need to do, you just need to tell the grievances of the district. Then, suppose if you are IFS official, okay, you are in a UN assembly. Then, so there, profound expression must be there. And as you must have seen that Indian foreign services people, they are very good in expression. Okay, in the recent past, it has become very assertive. So the profound expression, will you do it in the pointing? Okay, no. Profound expression so that people get hold of the emotions, then so that comes in the paragraphing. So that's why both are required, everything is required. So for example, will you be writing essays in the points? ठीक है, तो वो essay कहाँ रह जाएगा? So everything is to be incorporated, and that's what is visible in your personality, that there is a objectivity in your personality, and so as you have subjective understanding also. So both the things would be there. ठीक है? So now let's come to, so this is the जागीरदारी crisis. ठीक है? एक बार फिर से मैं repeat कर दे रहा हूँ, so that if any confusion is remaining. So what was this जागीरदारी crisis? That if we go back to the Akbar's time, तो Akbar's time पे when the expansion is happening, so what was the system of the division of the land? 20%, the newly acquired area, 20% will be retained by the Mughal emperor, okay? And 80% will be given for the granting purpose. Then, so granting purpose. But now what Aurangzeb has done, when he has expanded in Bijapur, Golconda and Marathwada, so what he did that he changed this particular equation of 80-20 to more than 50 he has kept for himself, and that less than 50% or 49-48% he has kept for the granting purpose. But then those who are fighting for Aurangzeb, they will be obviously they will be disaffected. They are disappointed कि इतनी लड़ाई की, इतनी मेहनत की, so much of loyalty we have shown to him, and then what we have got, very less tract of land. So now, what are the options before them? They can either revolt or they can persuade Aurangzeb to increase their personal jagir. So they opted for the second one, okay? And some of them they got also that big jagir, but then majority of them who did not got the jagir, rather than fighting with Aurangzeb, they are fighting with the jagirdars only. And when these jagirdars are fighting in themselves, so it has led to the crippling of the entire Mughal administration, which was unfortunate, and that has led to the rapid decline of the Mughals. Then, so this is one part. Now, second reason क्या हो सकता है? Economic causes of the decline. Suppose that you are a jagirdar. You were expecting 100 acre of land, and how much you got? You got 50 acre of land. But then you have a condition that your daughter's marriage is there, ठीक है? And already you have already promised that इतना दहेज दूंगा, ठीक है? So then what happened, or whatever be expenses you have already promised, and then after 50 acres you have made the calculation that 100 acre I will get, and then that's how I will do the things. But then you got the 50 acre, so now you will not be able to meet your own expenses. So what you will do? You will increase the rate of the taxes, ठीक है? कि मैं 50 एकड़ में ही 100 एकड़ का टैक्स लूंगा. So this was also done by many of the jagirdars in the different parts of the country, and that's how that particular increasing the taxes led to the, ठीक है, led to the revolts. So increasing, yeah, extraction of the taxes, ठीक है? people were terrorized, and when people are terrorized beyond a point, so they come to the revolt. Rather than submitting themselves to the Jagirdar, they organize themselves and they come to the revolt. So that's how that in different parts of the country, the trust towards the administration of the Mughal was declining. So ek baar likho, mention second one. Number two, many of the Mughal Jagirdars tried to extract more taxes from the public, which often led to revolt, and it further led to erosion of trust. In Mughal administration. So these were the economic causes. Okay? Let's come to the socio-religious causes of the revolt. So mention a title: socio-religious causes of decline. Socio-religious causes of decline. Socio-religious causes of decline. And so now, socio-religious, already we know in one class we had a little bit of discussion on it, but then here is the writing part. So the religious divisive policy of the Aurangzeb was one of the most important factor of the decline. Okay? And moreover, what were those religious divisive policy? So first of all, let me do this thing. Okay? So first of all, that forcible religious conversions. Okay? Forcible religious conversions were one of the factor. Then another was the destruction of many of the temples. So destruction of the many of the temples. In fact, some of the big temples which were destroyed by him, it includes the Somnath temple, so as Kashi Vishwanath, so as Kesav Rai, and so as the Govind Dev temple of the Mathura Vrindavan. But then apart from it, he was already on a campaign and he destroyed more than thousands of the temple, big or small. It's countless, that large number. In fact, data was released by that Archaeological Survey of India head, K.K. Muhammad. Then, in fact, in Udaipur area itself, the South Rajasthan area itself, he destroyed 1100 temples. Okay? So he was on this mission to destroy the temples, and obviously it is leading to the alienation of the majority population. Then apart from it, what he said, that was the jizya tax. Then, so jizya already we have mentioned that it is the protection tax. Then, so protection tax but discriminatory, and on what basis it is discriminatory? Only imposed on the non-Muslims. Then, so he reimposed these taxes. Then apart from it, he also banned some of the popular festivals of that time, which included, so Holi festival was banned. Then Muharram celebrations were banned because he was the Sunni faith, and then the Muharram is the festival of the Shia faith. Then, so Muharram was banned. So as the Parsi festival of the Navroz was also banned. Then, so these all initiatives of the Aurangzeb, they were not liked by majority of the people. Apart from it, many such Hindu chiefs which were associated with the Mughal administration, they were getting disaffected. And the most important example are the Rajput rulers itself. They were on the sides of the Mughal right from the time of the Humayun, actually. Okay? So right from the time of the Humayun. And so as the Akbar period, everybody knows that there was a very close association between the Rajput rulers and the Akbar. So as the Jahangir's time and so as the Shah Jahan's time. But it is Aurangzeb time when all of them are getting offended. Then, so these all reasons were one of the most important factor of the decline. Then, so likho ek bar, mention karo, very first thing. The religious divisive policy of Aurangzeb played a very vital role in decline, ठीक है. Then mention number 2, the forcible religious conversions were highly detested by majority population. Then mention next one. Aurangzeb destroyed large number of temples. Aurangzeb destroyed large number of temples, including Somnath temple, Kasi Vishwanath temple, Kesav Rai temple, and Govind Dev temple of Mathura Vrindavan. Kesav Rai temple and Govind Dev temple of Mathura Vrindavan. Just listen, it is Govind Dev temple which is a major point of discussion, because Govind Dev temple was created by Raja Man Singh of Amer. Then, and who was he? He was one of the Navaratna of the Akbar's court. Then, so Akbar's court, relative of the Akbar's wife Jodhabai. Okay? So this temple was created. Jaipur में भी है, Pink City में there is a one Govinda Dev temple. It was created by him only. But then the one which was in the Mathura Vrindavan was destroyed by the Aurangzeb. And in fact, it is the temple which was highly funded by Akbar. So Akbar also gave high donations to the construction of this temple. But then later on, it is said the story of this destruction of this temple is like that Aurangzeb was passing from the Mathura Vrindavan area, and by the evening, when the sunset has happened, so his camp was created closer to the 3, 4, 5 kilometer far from the temple. But then some light was coming from the temple, from the top of the temple, because there was this tradition that in the evening they used to lit a little bit of fire on the top of the temple. Now when the light was coming in the tent of the Aurangzeb, so he got irritated with it, and then he asked about that from where this light is coming. So they all told that it is from the nearby Govind Dev temple, and they have this evening tradition of lighting a little bit of fire on the top of the temple. So immediately he instructed that this temple must be brought to the half, take care. And within a month itself, it was destroyed. And why this temple? Because it was the largest temple of India by that time. So he destroyed it. Aaj ke time pe there is a temple, but then that's a very small scale temple at that same place, not like the one which was created by Raja Man Singh. And moreover, one more reason why we discuss this temple was actually the presentation of the synthetic culture of India. In fact, in this temple, many of the Mughal techniques were also incorporated in the construction of the temple. But then Aurangzeb was altogether in a different mode, different plane, and then he stopped destroying the temples. There came a time in his life, but then that was too late for himself. That's a different story we'll see somewhere else. Okay? So this is what is about the temple part. Then you write, next one, mention karo. He banned many festivals like Holi, Muharram, and Navroz. Holi, Muharram, and Navroz. Then mention further after it. He reimposed, next point, he reimposed jizya tax. Which was abolished by Akbar. abolished by Akbar. Done. So now you write the next one, military causes of decline. The last one, military causes of decline. So military causes of decline. Now, listen. So when it comes to military causes, it's not Aurangzeb who is over here. It is the later Mughals who will be mentioned in the military causes. See, Aurangzeb, whatever be the policy, whatever be his initiatives, it might not have been good, but then he was an authoritative emperor. He was very powerful, okay? And that's why people, even if they are offended, they rarely dared to go against him. Then, so now after his death, what has happened? That the later Mughal emperors, first of all, majority of them are not capable, and majority of them are not interested in general administration. Then, and apart from it, the rapid decline which has happened, or basically the fragmentation of the Mughal house which has happened, it has also led to they are giving less focus on the military upgradation. So 18th century India is known for the arrival, consolidation of the European powers. And these European powers, their numbers were not great. What was great about them? They had sophisticated weapons and technology. So with these sophisticated weapons, they were constantly victorious in many of the battles at this point of time. Their military was much more advanced than any of the Indian military. And when it comes to the Mughal emperors, when they faced these Europeans, so they proved to be very inferior. So for example, that is Battle of Buxar, 1764. Then the army strength, we'll be talking about it in the Bengal episode. So army strength of the combined army was 70,000, and British were just 7,000. 1/10 of the strength of the combined army. But then they were defeated instantly. The reason is sophisticated weapons, military technology. So एक बार लिखो. 18th century India. 18th century India witnessed 18th century India witnessed the consolidation of European powers, consolidation of European powers in India. European powers in India. Though they were not great in numbers, but they had highly upgraded, though they were not great in numbers, but they had highly upgraded military technology. Highly upgraded military technology. Please look at your pen. If you're writing slow, so look at your pen. Many of you are lagging actually. So change your technique. Some of you are still looking at each other's copy, and I can sense कि 2-3 word नहीं, 2-2 line छूट रहे हैं लोगों के. So increase your speed. ठीक है? Then, right, on the other hand, there was no change in the Mughal army. And they were still fighting. With the old weapons and technology. Old weapon and technology. Full stop. Once they faced the opponents like British, they proved to be highly inferior. they proved to be highly inferior. Then, so this is what is about. Now we are done with the decline of the Mughal part. Okay? So all the headings and then also all the relevant things that was needed to be discussed. So now is the time. So we'll be starting with the regional powers. Okay? And moreover, so let me give you the scheme. We have a class tomorrow, na? So आज we'll be starting with the Carnatic Wars, the Anglo-French rivalry and involvement of the Carnatic area and Hyderabad in that particular case. And after completion of that topic, we'll start with the regional power of Bengal. Okay? So tomorrow also Bengal topic will continue. So let's start with the two type of the states which emerged from the Mughal house. Then, so mention. So just before going into the Carnatic Wars, this is an important discussion. So there were, from the Mughal Empire, two types of the states emerged. The first one we call as successor states. Successor states. And second one is called as rebellious states. Rebellious states. So let's understand that which all were successor states and what is the nature of the successor state and so as the rebellious states. So as far as the Aurangzeb tenure is concerned, it was climax of the Mughal territory. Mughal rule extended from Kashmir till Kanyakumari, okay? And so as that some parts of Assam, okay? So some parts of the northeast, not the entire northeast was under his control, but entire Bangladesh and so as till Guwahati, okay? So Guwahati se pehle tak their control was there. And so as the entire Western India, including till the Baluchistan in Pakistan. Okay? So the maximum territory was at his time. But then Aurangzeb's death in 1707 and slowly the decline, not slowly, sorry, rapidly the decline is happening. So decline is happening because of emergence of the two type of the states, rebellious and successor states. And so let's talk about the successor states. Successor states were those states, their nature is semi-independent, completely autonomous. पहले दोनों words का meaning समझ लो, ठीक है? So completely autonomous means that they can take their own decisions, nobody will be interfering in their decision making. And what is semi-independent? Meaning they still consider Mughal emperor as the emperor of Hindustan. So in a symbolic manner, there is a respect towards the Mughal emperor. That is semi-independent. And semi-independent का एक और मतलब है that there would be some tributes or taxes will be sent to the Mughal emperor. Then not the entire, but some proportion of the taxes will be sent to the Mughal emperor. So semi-independent and autonomous states were created by the erstwhile nobility of the Mughals. Then what do we mean by this? Meaning that the Mughal nobles themselves, who were the Jagirdars, who were the Mansabdars, they themselves went on to create the semi-independent autonomous states. So which are the examples? Bengal. 1717, it was created by the Bengal governor, Murshid Quli Khan. Then 1722, Sadat Khan, Awadh. And 1724, Asaf Jah. So what was his full name? Chin Kilich Khan Asaf Jah. So he created in 1724 Hyderabad. So these were the semi-independent autonomous states and these people were the nobles of the Mughal. Okay? Now what else we mentioned? That they did not cut off their complete links with the Mughal emperor. In fact, they continued the respect towards the Mughal emperor. He will not be interfering in their political decisions, okay, in their affairs, but then annually these states will be sending the tributes to the Mughal emperor. Moreover, in his respect, they also continued minting coins and they also continued raising the Friday prayers in the name of the Mughal monarch. What is Friday prayer? Hindi, in normal language, what we call Jume ki namaz. Friday prayers, okay? So Jume ki namaz. So that was raised in the name of the Mughal emperor. So this is what is the case with the successor states. And rebellious would be those, we'll talk about it, completely independent and completely autonomous. meaning that they will not be respecting the nominal authority of the Mughal emperor. So पहले successor में लिखो, you write, mention, these were semi-independent, and completely autonomous states. Autonomous states. Then mention, these states were created by the erstwhile nobility of Mughal. Mughals. Then mention, they did not cut off their complete links. With Mughals, and they respected the nominal leadership of Mughal emperor. Right. In dictation part, no raising hand. Then mention, nominal leadership of Mughal, full stop. Then they sent annual tributes to Mughal monarch. They also continued minting coins in the name of Mughal monarch. And Friday prayers were also raised. In his name. So now examples you write. Example में mention करो. Bengal, 1717. Murshid Quli Khan was the founder, though already we have written. Then Awadh, 1722, and Hyderabad, 1724. So Awadh by Sadat Khan, already you have written, तो दोबारा लिखने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, ठीक है? So this is what is about the successor states. Let's talk about the rebellious states. Then, so rebellious states. Now listen. So when it comes to the second category, rebellious states were those states which were annexed by Aurangzeb. They were not the Mughal territory, first of all. They were not the Mughal territory, but Aurangzeb, during his expansion, he has annexed these areas. Okay? So annexed these areas, and he has brought them under their control. So for example, if we talk about the Marathwada itself, so not the complete Marathwada was taken over by Aurangzeb, but then more than half the part of the Marathwada was taken over by the Aurangzeb. आधा तो है अभी intact, but then more than half was taken over by him. Then apart from it, the states like that Mysore, they were also not the part of the Mughal territory, but then it has been won by the Aurangzeb for some duration, and so as the Punjab was also occupied by him. So now what has happened after his death in 1707, the rulers of these areas, they became assertive. Okay? They became assertive and they established their complete independence and complete autonomy. Okay? So complete independence, complete autonomy. So these states, will talk about the example, but first of all, so they will not be respecting, they don't have any link with the Mughal, they will not be respecting the nominal leadership of the Mughal, which also means that they will not have to pay any taxes to the Mughal, any annual tribute to the Mughal, and they will not be minting the coins with the name of the Mughal monarch. Then, so this is what they did, and these states are, so Marathwada, so as the Mysore, and so as the Punjab. Okay? So as the Punjab. Now, I know that some of you might be thinking, ki, what about the Rajput states? Do they fall in the rebellious or successor? They were none. Okay? Why so? They were allied states. And allied states ka matlab that they were the alliance partner of the Mughals right from the beginning. Right from the beginning, and whose time? Akbar's time. Okay? So they don't fall in this category. These categories have emerged after the death of Aurangzeb. Rajput states haven't emerged after the death of Aurangzeb. They are already there, they are allied partners. Though they have their grievances, they have their complaints against the Aurangzeb, but then complete dissociation did not happen. Okay? And in fact, even after his death, Aurangzeb's death, that there was some attempt by the later Mughal emperors. You have already seen that Bahadur Shah, he offered peace to the Rajputs, Jats and Bundelas. So they don't come under these categories. So ek baar likho, mention karo. These states were independent kingdoms. These states were independent kingdoms, but during the tenure of Aurangzeb, some of their areas were annexed. During the tenure of Aurangzeb, some of their areas were annexed and captured. Then mention further. After the death of Aurangzeb, the rulers of these areas reestablished their complete independence and autonomy. Then they did not respected nominal leadership of Mughals, and they were not supposed to mint coins in the name of Mughal monarch. They were also not supposed to send any tribute to the Mughal emperor. Example you write. Mysore, Maratha and Punjab. So these are the two type of the states. Okay? So now we'll be starting with the very first discussion is the Anglo-French rivalry and also the Carnatic Wars. So Carnatic War is not about the fight between the British and French, but also the involvement of the Carnatic Kingdom and so as the Hyderabad, which is one of the successor state of the Mughal. Then, so first let's have a little bit of discussion in the Anglo-French War, Hyderabad itself and so as the Carnatic, and then we'll go into the fight. Okay? So एक heading लिखो, just mention, give me 1 minute. Anglo-French rivalry. Or Carnatic Wars. So understand, when it comes to Hyderabad, so Hyderabad was one of the province of the Mughal, Suba. Suba is the province created from the time of the Akbar itself. 16 Subas were there. So now, when it comes to Hyderabad, so Hyderabad in between 1713 to 1722. Okay? So this is the time period in which Chin Kilich Khan was the governor of the Hyderabad. Okay? So governor of the Hyderabad, and moreover, the Hyderabad location was a kind of that landlocked area, and moreover, Hyderabad was also one of the very rich province of the Mughal India. So he was the governor of this area. Now, it is in 1720 when Mughal emperor enlisted the help of the Chin Kilich Khan to remove the Sayyid brothers. Then, and because of his support, Sayyid brothers were eliminated one by one. As such, in 1722, he was offered the position of Mughal Wazir. Then, we have already mentioned about him that he was a man who wanted corruption-free administration. And in fact, many people, all the other nobles also developed trust in him. So it was a good time. It was a time to revive the Mughal glory, but Mughal emperor was very circumspect. Okay? He was not the man of the moment, and he often doubted the intention of the Asaf Jah. So as such, what he did, frustrated by the this doubtful nature of the emperor, he decided that he will pursue his own ambition rather than correcting the corrupt Mughal administration. So in 1724, he fought with the Mughal governor of the Deccan in the Battle of Kheda, okay? Mubariz Khan. Mubariz Khan was defeated and killed, and then he declared Hyderabad as a semi-independent autonomous state. And then he established Asaf Jahi dynasty in Hyderabad, and moreover, the successors of the Chin Kilich Khan or Asaf Jah, they came to be known as Nizams of Hyderabad. So the rulers of the Hyderabad came to be known as Nizams of Hyderabad. So this is their story. Mention a little bit. Hyderabad was one of the rich province of Mughal India. Was one of the rich province of Mughal India. Then mention, in between 1713 to 22, Chin Kilich Khan was the governor of Hyderabad. Chin Kilich Khan was the governor of Hyderabad. In 1722, he became Mughal Wazir. In 1722, he became Mughal Wazir. He wanted to reform corrupt Mughal administration. He wanted to reform corrupt Mughal administration. but but due to very suspicious nature, of Mughal monarch, he resigned from the position of wazir. He resigned from the position of wazir. He decided to pursue his own ambition. He decided to pursue his own ambition. Full stop. In 1724, he defeated and killed Mubariz Khan in Battle of Kheda. Mubariz Khan in Battle of Kheda. And established Asaf Jahi dynasty. Established Asaf Jahi dynasty in Hyderabad. Asaf Jahi dynasty in Hyderabad. His successors came to be known as Nizams of Hyderabad. Nizams of Hyderabad. So now write a title, Carnatic. But before going into the explanation of the Carnatic, let's have a look at the map and which area we call as Carnatic. So now, just understand that basically the Coromandel coast of India, starting from here, and this is the area which we call as a Carnatic. Iske upar ka part would be the Hyderabad. So this part is basically Carnatic will go, that coastal part. This is the area that goes into the Hyderabad. So now understand this area, this entire part, what we call Coromandel coast. So it basically includes today's Tamil Nadu and so as the Andhra. Then so Royal Seema part of the Andhra. So now let's understand what kind of state Carnatic is. Carnatic was not a successor state, it was not a rebellious state. Okay? Carnatic was a state which was recognized by Aurangzeb himself. Okay? So in 1690, ध्यान से समझना, in 1690 Aurangzeb gave Nawabship status in the Carnatic. Okay? And the first ruler in 1690 was Zulfikar Khan. And so Zulfikar Khan was recognized as the first Nawab of the Carnatic in 1690. But then when the Nawabship was given to this area, so the ruler who would be, the Nawab who would be there in the Carnatic, he accepted the Mughal supremacy. Okay? So he accepted the Mughal supremacy. Now, so if he has accepted Mughal supremacy, so it means that he will also have to pay some tributes to the Mughal monarch. And whenever any such transaction has to happen from the Carnatic area to the Mughal, so then that transaction was happening through Hyderabad. इसको भी ध्यान से समझना. That for all the purpose of any political, administrative transaction, commercial transaction, Carnatic has to deal with the Hyderabad. Okay? Meaning that Hyderabad governor was taking all the amount, or on the behalf of the Mughal emperor, he was doing the, taking the amount, he was doing all the administrative decisions on the behalf of the Mughal emperor. So that's how this was the original scenario till 1724. But in 1724, when Hyderabad itself became semi-independent and autonomous, so Carnatic was free from the control of the Hyderabad from here onwards. So Carnatic was free from the control of Hyderabad, and since the Mughal emperors were not strong enough, so Carnatic completely became free, and by 1730 they started to take their own decisions, okay, without any interference of the Mughal emperor. Then, so just like Hyderabad has gone in a direction of creating a new state, Carnatic has become much more free than the Hyderabad. Okay? Now, in this case, how come the British and French involvement is there? We have to understand. So understand that two areas, important areas of British and French. And what are these areas? French are British in Madras, okay, and French in Pondicherry. And both the areas are in Carnatic. So both the areas are in Carnatic. And moreover, both the companies will try to expand their powers in the Carnatic area. So how come they got the chance? थोड़ी इसमें Carnatic episode में there are n number of the names. ठीक है? So there are so many names, but I would say to you that don't run after the names. Just try to understand the story. नाम late में कभी याद हो सकता है. Not all the names has to be remembered. But for the story, I will have to tell you the names then. So understand. So now what happened that in 1730, the ruler of the Carnatic was Sadat Allah Khan. Then, so Sadat Allah Khan, and Sadat Allah Khan, before his death, he has chosen Dost Ali as his successor. Then, so Dost Ali as his successor. Now his death happened, Dost Ali became the next Nawab. But when the death of the Dost Ali is happening, okay, so then there was a war of succession in the Carnatic area. So war of succession between Muhammad Anwaruddin and Chanda Sahib. So at this point of time when this war of succession is happening, so French were the first people who started to interfere in the local politics of the Carnatic. They thought that if they would be supporting one of the side, if that person comes to power, so they will get more political mileage in Carnatic. But very soon, the same strategy was adopted by British. Okay? They also did the same thing. They started to support the rival candidate, and they felt that same way, that if that candidate comes to power, they will get more political mileage in the Carnatic. This is what led to the beginning of the Carnatic Wars or the Anglo-French Wars. So it all started in 1740 and continued till 1763. So in next 23 years, 3 fights happened between the British and French. They also involved Hyderabad and Carnatic in these wars. So in the first war, Hyderabad was not involved, but in the second war, Hyderabad was also involved. Then, and finally in 1760, it is the British who have defeated the French thoroughly, and in 1763, Treaty of Paris, it winded up the imperialist ambition of the French. So we'll discuss in detail that how it happened. Then, so mention Carnatic में लिखो. Carnatic was the Coromandel coast of India. Carnatic was the Coromandel coast of India and its hinterland. And its hinterland, meaning अंदर का इलाका. ठीक है? Then you write in 1690. In 1690, Aurangzeb recognized Nawabship of Carnatic. Nawabship of Carnatic. Then mention Carnatic was kept under the legal purview. Carnatic was kept under the legal purview of Hyderabad governor. Legal purview of Hyderabad governor. Then mention legal purview of Hyderabad governor, full stop. In 1724, when Hyderabad became semi-independent, autonomous state, comma, automatically, Carnatic also became free from Mughal control. Full stop. Carnatic Nawab, Sadat Allah Khan. Started to take his own decisions. Without any interference of Mughal emperor or his nobles. Then mention, after his death, Dost Ali became the next Carnatic Nawab. Then mention, in 1740, 1740, after the death of Dost Ali, War of Succession started. In Carnatic. Full stop. At this time, French governor Dupleix decided to interfere. In the political affairs of Carnatic. So as to get a greater political mileage in Carnatic. Very soon, British East India Company also followed in the footsteps of French. They started to interfere in Carnatic politics. It led to development of bitter fight between British and French. Which continued for more than 20 years, which continued for more than 20 years. These fights are generally referred as Carnatic wars. So now listen, that when we are going to discuss that the Carnatic wars. So 3 Carnatic wars were there. First one started in 1740, second in 1749, and third from the 1756. So the 3 Carnatic wars have happened. Now, understand that when it comes to the reasons of the fight, already this is the reason that we have provided, but additional things also we need to know. So when it comes to the precipitating factor at the time of the first war, we'll tell you that what I count as a precipitating factor. So it was based outside India, in Europe. Second fight, all the reasons of the outbreak of the war were completely based in India. And the third war, it was also that outside India. So first war and the third war, the immediate reasons based outside India. And the second war, the immediate reasons were inside India. Okay? Now understand, immediate reason I'm calling as a precipitating factor. What is precipitating factor? That already there is a acrimony, there is a kind of bitterness between the two people. But bitterness on the one side, fight, bitterness turns into a fight, उसकी कोई वजह होनी चाहिए, कोई immediate वजह होनी चाहिए. So that's what we call precipitating factor. Then, so for example, that you must have seen that neighbors are the best example, where always bitterness is there. ठीक है? All the time, ठीक है? मुंह में राम बगल में छुरी condition, ठीक है? So they will be like this. But then bitterness तो है, but they know that neighbors are necessary evils, ठीक है? They are required also. So, but suppose you cleared the exam, ठीक है? And you cleared the exam, you got a very good rank, top 10 में आ गए तुम लोग, and then you know the neighbors what will happen to them, ठीक है? They will not be liking it. And they want to fight. They are, वो पूरे जल भुन चुके हैं, but they want to fight. But then this is not the time. They will be fighting. Now one fine day, rains happened, and then there is no control on the rain. So obviously that what happened? The तुम्हारे घर का पानी उनके छत पे गिरने लगा. They found a reason to fight. So this is no reason, but this is the reason that they counted कि आपने अपने छत का पानी उधर क्यों नहीं गिरा रहे हो? You must have seen these kind of fights. So this is what we are calling precipitating factor. So कुछ immediately ऐसा होना चाहिए जिसकी वजह से झगड़ा start हो जाए. So that's what we are calling at this particular place. So in the very first war, the precipitating factor was the Austrian War of Succession, whereby in Europe, Britain and France were fighting in the Austrian War of Succession against each other. And that's how the companies of both the countries, French East India Company and British East India Company, they also started to fight with each other in India. Already they were not liking each other. Now they found the reason to fight. So let's understand the very first war. ठीक है? एक title लिखो और break के बात करते हैं. ठीक है? You can take break. So now listen. Very first Anglo-French War, it started in 1740 to 46. We also call it as a first Carnatic War भी लिख सकते हो. So it all started because of Austrian War of Succession. And what was this Austrian War of Succession? So there is an empire in Europe. The name of the Austrian Empire was Habsburg Empire. And King Charles, okay, of Habsburg Empire, his death happened. After his death, there were two belligerents, meaning that there are two contenders who are fighting for power. One was the daughter of the king, Maria Theresa, and another was his relative, Charles Albert. So these were the two contenders of Habsburg Empire. Now, once the fight between these two people started, so respective sides were taken. Britain supported claim of Maria Theresa, and Charles Albert was supported by French. So this is what led to this war in Europe, 1740. But in India, the two companies started to fight from 1742. Okay? So they started to fight from 1742. And the initial aggression was shown by the Dupleix. Okay? So Dupleix was the one who attacked on the British possession of Madras. Okay? He attacked on the British possession of the Madras. British were caught unaware. So when the British were caught unaware, they sent one emergency message to the Nawab of Carnatic for help. And who was Nawab of Carnatic? Muhammad Anwaruddin. Muhammad Anwaruddin. So now what happened? That listening to the call of the British, Muhammad Anwaruddin has sent his help to Madras. But French, not only they defeated British, but they also defeated Muhammad Anwaruddin. So this particular war, in this war, who is victorious? French are victorious. French have captured the Madras, which is the area of the British. But then this war ended with Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle in 1746. And Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle, as the name itself suggests, that ki ye kahan pe hoga? It must be in Europe then. So Aix-la-Chapelle is a place in Europe. So as per this treaty, what has happened, that there is a different scenario in the Europe and different in the India. So in the Europe, British candidate Maria Theresa is victorious. And in India, French are victorious. Okay? But this fight was not only happening in India and Europe, but it was also happening in North America. And so in North America, British were victorious. In India, French were victorious. So in India, French have captured Madras, and in North America, British have captured Nova Scotia and Breton Island. Nova Scotia and Breton Island. Basically, if you look at the map of Canada, so Canada there is an area which is called as Newfoundland. So that area is basically the Breton Island and the Nova Scotia area. Let me show you. So, yeah. So this part of the Canada, this is North America, and this part of the Canada is the Breton Island and Nova Scotia. Okay? So now, both the parties have victory, but not at the same place, different places. So Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle, what it did, that the Nova Scotia and Breton Island, which was the French area, and captured by British, it was restored to French. And in India, French restored Madras to British. So basically, purani position वापस से establish हो गया, ठीक है? Status quo was maintained. Then, so this is what happened. Though the French were victorious in India, but they did not gain much in India, despite being victorious. The reason is that they were defeated in the North America. So एक बार लिखो, फिर थोड़ी और clarity होगी. So mention that in 1740, Austrian War of Succession started in Europe. Austrian War of Succession started in Europe. After the death of the king of Habsburg Empire, after the death of king of Habsburg Empire, Charles V. Charles V. Then Charles V. Habsburg, where I have written, yes. Then mention the two contenders The two contenders for power, the two contenders for power were daughter, daughter of King Charles, Maria Theresa, daughter of King Charles, Maria Theresa, and another was Charles Albert. Another was Charles Albert. Then relative, रिश्तेदार था. लिख लो ब्रैकेट्स में. Then mention Britain supported claim of Maria Theresa. Supported claim of Maria Theresa and French supported Charles Albert. Charles Albert, which led to war of succession. Which led to war of succession. Then mention both the companies also started to fight. Not only in India, but also in North America. Full stop. Then mention, change paragraph, and then you write French governor Dupleix attacked on Madras. French governor Dupleix attacked on Madras. Full stop. At this time, British sent help message. To Carnatic Nawab. Muhammad Anwaruddin. It's all written on board, you can see the spelling. Carnatic Nawab Muhammad Anwaruddin. Then mention after it Muhammad Anwaruddin. But both British and Carnatic forces were thoroughly defeated in Madras. By French. Then change paragraph, mention. On the other hand, in North America, British captured French area of Nova Scotia and Britain Island. Nova Scotia and Britain Island. Done? Now mention. After full stop, then you write, this war ended with Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. This war ended with Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle. Mention, as per the treaty, Madras was restored to British. As per the treaty, Madras was restored to British, and French got back their territories. French got back their territories in North America. Got back their territories in North America. So this is how the first war has ended. ठीक है? So first war में किसी को कोई भी फायदा नहीं हुआ. Both the companies, though the French were victorious in India, but not gained much in India. So the second war, just mention Second Anglo-French War, और Carnatic War भी लिखो. Second Anglo-French War, or Carnatic War. So it's starting from 1749 and will end by 54. So there are many reasons that why it has happened then, and all the reasons are based in India. Okay. So first of all, now understand. So French were offended. With whom? The Carnatic Nawab, Muhammad Anwaruddin. They felt that if it was a fight between the British and French, so Anwaruddin must not have come to the rescue of the British. So Dupleix has decided to take give a lesson to the Anwaruddin. And what he did, in 1749, there was a separate fight between French and Carnatic Nawab, Anwaruddin. So the battle is known as Battle of Hambourg. So in Battle of Hambourg, French defeated and killed the Nawab of Carnatic, Anwaruddin. Okay? So they defeated and killed Nawab of Carnatic, Anwaruddin, meaning that there would be once again fight for the power in the Carnatic. On the other hand, this is the case in the Carnatic area. What about the Hyderabad? So Hyderabad would also be involved in this war. So in Hyderabad, in 1748 itself, what has happened? That Asaf Jah's death happened. So Asaf Jah died in 1748. And after his death, there are two contenders. So not only in the Carnatic, but also in the Hyderabad, there are two contenders. So let's look at the Carnatic, Hyderabad first. So in Hyderabad, the two contenders are Muzaffar Jung and Nasir Jung. Muzaffar Jung and Nasir Jung. Similarly, in Carnatic, after the death of Anwaruddin, the two contenders are Chanda Sahib and Muhammad Ali. So Chanda Sahib, I'll write later on. So Chanda Sahib and Muhammad Ali. So these were the two contenders over here. So now, that both the companies will be taking the rival positions. French have supported the claim of Chanda Sahib and Muzaffar Jung. British supported the claim of Muhammad Ali and so as Nasir Jung. Okay? So now, when they are supporting the rival candidates, finally what happened? By the end of the 1749, it is the French supported candidates who came to power. So who are the French supported candidate? In Carnatic, Chanda Sahib. And in Hyderabad, Muzaffar Jung. So this is the time when British felt that by the end of 1749 or by the beginning of the 1750, British felt that it was written in the destiny. They were callous in their attitude. Callous, you understand? Meaning that they felt ki yahi likha hua tha, let's accept that whatever has happened done will not be victorious. So they accepted by this time that they will have to settle with whatever has happened. But immediately what happened in 1750s itself, there was a change of the guard in the British company. A new general was appointed whose name was Saunders. Saunders maintained to his army, his people, that we must not give up so easily. Even if we have to be defeated, let's put up a fight. So he wanted to fight with the French. Then, and when he wanted to fight with the French, so there was a new energy which was infused in the British East India Company. And that is the time when some strategy would be devised, and the first victory of the British in India against the French will happen because of that strategy. So strategy is famously called as Siege of Arcot. And the creator of the Siege of Arcot is Robert Clive. So we will talk about him. We will talk about how the Siege of Arcot has happened. Meanwhile, thoda sa likho. You're right. Mention. In 1749, French defeated and killed. In 1749, French defeated and killed Nawab of Carnatic, Anwaruddin. Nawab of Carnatic, Anwaruddin, in Battle of Ambur. In Battle of Ambur. Then mention. It led to war of succession between Muhammad Ali and Chanda Sahib. Muhammad Ali and Chanda Sahib in Carnatic. Then paragraph change. In Hyderabad, death of Asaf Jah happened in 1748. Death of Asaf Jah happened in 1748. 1748. Then mention. Which led to war of succession between Muzaffar Jung and Nasir Jung. Muzaffar Jung and Nasir Jung. Then mention Muzaffar Jung and Nasir Jung. In this war of succession, French supported claim of Chanda Sahib. French supported claim of Chanda Sahib for Carnatic, and Muzaffar Jung for Hyderabad. Muzaffar Jung for Hyderabad. In this war of succession, French supported claim of Chanda Sahib for Carnatic and Muzaffar Jung for Hyderabad. On the other hand, British supported claim of Muhammad Ali for Carnatic and Nasir Jung for Hyderabad. And Nasir Jung for Hyderabad. It's also written on board, you can copy from there also. So British supported claim of Muhammad Ali for Carnatic and Nasir Jung for Hyderabad. Full stop. Finally, French war victorious. Finally, French were victorious in installing. Finally, French were victorious in installing their candidates at both places. at both places. Full stop. Initially, the British attitude was very callous. Initially, the British attitude was very callous, and they accepted their defeat. They accepted their defeat. Their defeat. But soon after the appointment of new general, Saunders, they felt to put up some resistance against French. So now listen. Resistance against French. So this resistance would be called as Siege of Arcot. अब एक बार फिर से वापस से we'll go to the story that what happened at this point of time. So when Saunders wanted to put up some sort of resistance against the French, he was inviting suggestions from his own people in the British East India Company. That is the time when a 22-year-old guy, then who was a clerk in the company, he was not in the army. So who was a clerk in the company and he was in the writership of the company, so he volunteered. He volunteered to fight, and moreover, not only volunteered, but he suggested one alternative strategy that how we can be victorious. And this young guy was Robert Clive. Okay? So what he has suggested, ab yahan pe bhi, because in the Second War there are layers of the story. I know that so many, that's why I said that so many names are there. So if you try to remember the name, yaad nahi hoga, okay? In the beginning, it will take a lot of time. So what you need to remember that French were victorious in installing the candidates. That's what you need to understand, that rival candidates were there and French were victorious in the beginning. So now understand, what is the Siege of Arcot? Arcot is the capital of the Carnatic, okay? So this is the capital of Carnatic. So obviously, when Chanda Sahib is becoming the Nawab of the Carnatic, so he'll be living in the capital, Arcot. Then, on the other hand, the second guy, what was his name? Muhammad Ali. So Muhammad Ali, his base was Tiruchirappalli, which was called as, in those times, Trikonapalli. So Muhammad Ali is based in Trikonapalli, and Chanda Sahib would be in the Arcot. When Chanda Sahib came to power, understand, there was a news. When Robert Clive is giving suggestion, so he already know the news. And what is the news? That Chanda Sahib became the Nawab, and then he decided march towards Trikonapalli. He wanted to kill Muhammad Ali, okay? So that in future also there must not be any fight. So when Chanda Sahib started to march towards Trikonapalli, so that's the time when Robert Clive has said to the Saunders that give me a chunk of the army, okay? A good chunk of the army. When Chanda Sahib has left Arcot, so what we'll do, we will enter inside the Arcot fort. Then we will capture his capital, and when he will be learning the news of the capture of his capital, he will be forced to return back to save his capital. Once he is returning back, color coding different karte hain. Ek baar ruk jao. So I'll do one thing. So I'm taking white for the British. Okay? So inside British would be there. Now Chanda Sahib, who is going towards the Trikonapalli, he will be returning back, and then he'll be outside the gates of Arcot. Andar British, Bahar Chanda Sahib. And then after, Robert Clive has said that when he arrives at the gate of the Arcot, a bigger British force can come, and bigger British force will besiege Chanda Sahib. So Chanda Sahib and French army will be in the middle, sandwiched between the British force inside, British force outside. And that's how they can be defeated. This worked perfectly. This plan worked perfectly, and Robert Clive led by example. So, in fact, whatever number of the soldiers he demanded from the Saunders, Saunders did not give that many soldiers. But then he gave him 700, 800 soldiers, and with those numbers itself, he captured the Arcot fort. And the siege of Arcot was a successful episode in this particular Carnatic War. And after this particular episode, as per the Treaty of Madras, Dupleix was called back from India. So actually French government blamed all the reasons of the defeat on the Dupleix, and he was called back from India. It is said to be the biggest mistake of the French in India. So we'll talk about it. First you write, mention. So what you have mentioned, resistance against the French is the last word. At this point of time, a young clerk Robert Clive volunteered to fight. A young clerk, Robert Clive, volunteered to fight. And he also suggested alternative strategy. He also suggested alternative strategy to defeat French. Then Saunders gave a chance to Robert Clive. Saunders gave a chance to Robert Clive. And then you write the title, Siege of Arcot. Siege of Arcot. So now in this you mention with a small section of British force, Robert Clive entered into Carnatic capital Arcot. Comma, when Chanda Sahib was marching towards Trikonapalli. You can see the spelling. In today's time we call it Tiruchirappalli, but then it's the British English, that's what we are mentioning. So Trikonapalli. In the turn of events, Chanda Sahib has to return back. In the turn of events, Chanda Sahib has to return back to Arcot. But in his own capital, he was besieged by British forces. And finally defeated and killed. Then this was the first victory. Of British Victory of British against Carnatic Nawab and French. Against Carnatic Nawab and French. Full stop. After the end of war, French government recalled Dupleix from India. And blamed defeat on Dupleix. So we'll talk about it, that it was not a good thing when we are going to analyze the reasons of the failure of the French in India later on. So this is what has happened till the second battle. Let's come to the third battle, the last battle. So understand, second battle, all the reasons based in India. Now the third battle, so when it comes to the third battle, it all started in 1756 then, but the reason was based in Europe, and this reason is called as, in Europe, 7-year war broke out between British and French. The reason of this war, that both the countries, they wanted to create their imperial hegemony all over the world. What is imperial hegemony? Dominance. Okay? So as far as the world scenario is concerned, these were the two biggest colonizers in the world, these two countries. Britain went on to create 55 colonies and France went on to create 35 colonies. Then, so this is highest. And third biggest colonizer was the Dutch. Then, so first is the British, second is the French, third is the Dutch. But in Indian scenario, the French and British are important. So now they wanted to create their hegemony all over the world, their dominance all over the world, and that's how they started to fight everywhere where they are present. They are fighting in Europe, they are fighting in North America, they are fighting in the Asia also, which includes India. So now once the fight started, in India also the fight started. But the most decisive battle in India, or most important battle in India, was Battle of Vandy Wash. And this battle was fought in 1760. So what was there in this battle? As per the Battle of Vandy was that British side was led by Sir Eyre Coote, and French governor Dupleix was recalled. So meaning that some new general would be there. So new general from the French side was Comte de Lally. So this battle was fought, Battle of originally the name of the place is Vandavasi. Okay? But British, since they are not able to pronounce it correctly, they are calling it Vandy Wash. Then 1760 this battle happened and Sir Eyre Coote comfortably defeated French, thoroughly defeated French. And this is the final episode for the French in India. So though they were defeated in 1760 itself, but then war ended with Treaty of Paris in 1763. Treaty of Paris. And what were the terms and conditions in Treaty of Paris? Understand. So Treaty of Paris, as per this treaty, that French were allowed to retain their territories or their trading centers, which was created prior to 1749. Meaning whatever they have got after 1749, they cannot retain. But before 1749, so like Pondicherry, Karaikal, Yanam, Mahe, okay? So these all areas they can retain. Then it further said that French can continue with their trade and commerce in India. But it winded up the imperialist ambition of the French from India. What is imperialist ambition? To create a French colony in India. So further, this particular treaty of Paris said that French will have to accept British protectorate in India. I think this is for the first time we are using this word protectorate. So what is British protectorate? So for example, suppose that French want to create some warehouse in Delhi. Then, so generally what was the rule in the beginning? They will have to seek the permission of the Indian ruler, whoever be in Delhi, so his permission is to be taken. But actually as per this treaty, before seeking the permission of the Indian ruler, French will have to seek the permission of the British first, and then after they can seek the permission of the Indian ruler. So this is what is called as the British Protectorate, meaning that in India, any new initiative of theirs will be approved by the British. If it is not approved, they cannot do anything in India. Okay? So this is what was the main point of the Treaty of Paris, which winded up the imperialist ambition of the French in India, and British emerged as the only imperial power in India. So mention karo. So what you have written, third Carnatic War पहले लिखो title. So mention third Anglo-French War or Carnatic War. (1756 to 63). Mention. In 1756, 7-year war broke out between 7-year war broke out between French and British in all the continents. French and British in all the continents to establish their imperial dominance, In brackets you can mention hegemony. Imperial dominance or hegemony. Done? Then after it you mention imperial dominance or hegemony, full stop. In 1760, the most decisive Battle of Vendée was fought between Sir Eyre Coote of Britain and Comte de Lally of France. Then French were thoroughly defeated in this battle. And it ended with Treaty of Paris 1763. Mention. As per the treaty, French were allowed to retain all their territories in India, created prior to 1749. French were further allowed to continue their trade and commerce in India. But they had to accept the British protectorate. in India. British protectorate in India. Then mention it winded up the imperialist ambition. It winded up the imperialist ambition of French to create their colonial empire in India. To create their colonial empire in India. And British emerged as sole colonial, SOLE, sole colonial power in India. Colonial power in India. So write a title, Reasons for French Failure. Reasons for French failure. See, French were also very powerful, that it was a very powerful company, and then so as if they would not have been powerful, they would not have been able to create 35 colonies. But then it is the British who emerged as the strongest people as far as the imperialism is concerned. So now understand that what were the reasons of the failure of the French. First of all, let's start with the nature of the companies. The nature of the company is that British East India Company was a private entity and French was a public owned company or government owned company. So tell me that in which company decision making is fast, private or government owned? Private. Then so decision making was very fast in the British East India Company. But on the other hand, the French East India Company has always had to depend on the decision that is to be taken from the French government. Then so there was a lag in the communication, okay, and not always speedy decisions were taken. Then apart from it, this is one such thing. Apart from it, by this point of time, the third battle, it is the British who have realized the strength in the naval forces. Then, so they understood the importance of the naval forces, and their navy has become much more stronger than the French navy. Okay? Then after this particular part, recall of Dupleix was considered as a mistake, though he failed in siege of understanding siege of Arcot. But before that, all the victories of the French were because of the Dupleix only. So they that misunderstood, and then they recalled, and the new general who came in India, Comte de Lally, he was very arrogant and he was very rash. Then there was no coordination between the French general and his army people, his military people. So in fact, there was a grey point meaning udati hui khabar. So what was that? That in fact many of the soldiers and the other officers in the French army, they wanted Comte de Lally to be defeated and killed. So there was no cooperation. Okay? And moreover, when it comes to the British army, so British army was under a central command of the Sir Court. Then you might be asking that where is Robert Clive in this battle, third May? Third battle he was sent to America. Since he was victorious in Siege of Arcot, so he was sent to America to fight the war over there. Then, so that's why third battle was led by this guy. So now, at this point of time, so what has happened? So Sir Court central command was very good, but then there was no such kind of command in the French army. So counting these all reasons, one more reason is very important, and that is, I would say, most important: finances. Okay? See, if you have the finances, many things can be corrected. But if you don't have the finances, even if intention is good, things cannot be corrected. British has plenty of money at this point of time. And this plenty of money has come from the Plassey plunder. Battle of Plassey they have fought in 1757, which we'll be talking in the Bengal episode from the tomorrow's class, and how they have looted the Bengal in 1757. So they had huge money from the Plassey plunder. And on the other hand, French company was dependent on the finances from their government, which was not provided the time when it was needed. Then, so counting these all reasons, French, being a strong company, did not survive longer in India as an imperialist force. So mention karo, very first one you write. British East India Company, BEIC, British East India Company was a private entity, 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 as such, private entity, British, was a private entity which made decision making fast. Then full stop के बाद लिखो. On the other hand, French company was owned by their government. As such, on the other hand, French company was owned by their government. As such, decision making was slow. Number 2, there was lag of communication. In French company. There was lag of communication in French company. But it was not the case in BEIC, British East India Company. Short term likho, that will be better. Okay? British East India Company. Then, next point you write. By 1760, the naval strength of British became much stronger than the French. Next point. Recall of duplex was mistake. Full stop. As the newly appointed French officer Comte de Lally, was highly arrogant and rash. He did not cooperated with his own army personals. Done? Then next you write after it. On the other hand, British East India Company operated under the central command of Sir Eyre Coote. And there was complete cooperation in British Army. Last you write. French company faced financial difficulties. But there was plenty of finance with British company with British company due to Palasi plunder. With British due to Palasi plunder. And what is Palasi plunder? So loot, Battle of Palasi and the loot which has happened in the Palasi. So this is what is all about the Anglo-French. I know that this is a topic which is a bland. And there are so many names and the details are there. That's how it becomes bland. But then whatever that you have written, after 4 or 5 revisions only, the retention would be there. So I am once again saying this thing to you कि अभी अपने आप को question मत करना नाम याद नहीं हो रहा है तो, because it is very natural. It will happen after 4 or 5 revisions. ठीक है? So Bengal is a very interesting topic. It's not bland like this, and there are layers of the information, but in a very interesting way. So we'll start Bengal tomorrow. ठीक है? चलो, thank you.